last week's horrific attacks in Israel by the terrorist group Hamas led to worldwide displays of support for Israel, which is great. But on the other side of that coin, the attacks also has sparked anti-Israel demonstrations, and all sorts of anti-Semitic rhetoric and calls for violence have been evident. But nowhere has it been more apparent than on college campuses right here in the United States, where anti-Semitic rhetoric continues, frankly, to increase, often under the guise of anti-colonialism or somehow claiming Israel to exist as a uniquely racist apartheid state. But with all of this taking place, the question is, how can we as Christians confront such hatred as we support our Jewish brothers and sisters? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Chris Gacek. He's a senior fellow for regulatory affairs here at the Family Research Council. Chris, welcome back to Washington Watch.
So always good to see you, Jody.
Likewise, great to see you. And listen, you have done extensive research on this whole issue of anti-Semitism here in the United States, both from the perspective of the rhetoric as well as the actual acts of violence. So tell us just kind of the 30,000-foot view of the research you've done and what you've found.
Well, we've done two papers here at FRC on anti-Semitism, and the first one in 2018 was about anti-Semitism on college campuses, and that came about because I noticed that there was just a level of it that I never imagined possible, so I started looking into it. And then Leila Gilbert and I did a paper in 2021 about 100 anti-Semitic attacks and incidents that we found all across the United States, and tried to sort of break it out and look at that, but that wasn't confined to college campuses. Regarding colleges, though, I think what you have is there's a sort of a twofold reason for this occurring. So there's a group that Rabbi Mencken mentioned yesterday called Students for Justice in Palestine, which is basically there are 200 chapters of this organization at least on college campuses or university campuses. They're pretty much all the major schools in the United States. It's essentially an Islamist kind of a front group, masquerading as an organizing and anti-Jewish action front in all these college campuses. And I would say just bluntly, any school that has an SJP chapter is my way of thinking, it's per se a hostile environment for Jewish students. It just is not possible for it to be any other way. All of this anti-Semitism has also been institutionalized in the schools themselves by Middle East studies departments that are they're populated with professors who are, anti-Zionist, they're Middle Eastern, they really, they hate Israel, and they're not too fond of Jews either. So that's widespread throughout the academy. But one of the things, you just touched on something I just want to mention, and people can go and look at the textbooks that their kids have, or even probably in high school. I would imagine this is filtered all the way down. And it is this term decolonization, colonizers, this whole sort of set of rhetoric about colonialism. And it traces back to in 1961 to a Marxist named Franz Fanon. And the amount of citations this book and this man have received, he died in 1961, but he was basically a French, Caribbean who went to France to study, fought in World War II, and wrote this book as he was dying. But it's the Bible of Marxist anti-colonial theory. And this is what you read about. And basically decolonization is the violent overturning of everything in a society and every structure and every institution that it has. And that's what's just coached and coached and coached into young people at colleges.
It's stunning. Let me just ask you this, kind of bring down, I know the clock is ticking on us here, but is there a chance, particularly in light of what's just happened in Israel, that all of this anti-Semitism at college campuses and beyond is going to backfire? I mean, even things like the BDS, the boycott, divest, and sanction movement, and all this rhetoric and teaching, is it going to backfire, do you think?
I think one of the things that's happened is that, like you turn the lights on and the cockroaches are all running around. this is a Florida phenomenon that I'm used to. Yeah, I mean, I think the Band-Aid has been ripped off the wound, and now we kind of see what's really going on, and Jewish students being attacked the day of or soon after, these horrible, I mean, this wasn't some kind of minor incident that nobody knew about. I mean, these are, 1,300 people being slaughtered, and so what kind of beast, what kind of beast on two legs kind of can operate and even think in this manner? And so you don't know, and unless you are sort of made aware of things like, that something like Franz Fanon and all his works are being taught to your kids at school. You need to ask your state representatives. You need to find out, is there a Students for Justice in Palestine chapter at the schools in your state? Because there shouldn't be. And these are vile organizations. And I mean, I think the positive side is this is that the light has exposed the darkness, and we can start to at least talk about this in a way that we weren't able to before, because no one would have believed us.
Absolutely. Well, it's why we as Christians have a duty to stand up to this kind of hatred. Thank you, Chris Gacek, Senior Fellow for Regulatory Affairs here at the Family Research Council. Thanks for the incredible research, and thank you for joining us.